Welcome to the story of Everyman. I recently recorded an episode with two authors. Each story was so compelling that I decided to split the episode into two. This is Krista's story.
We're going to move over to Chris.
Hello.
How are you doing, Chris?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Are you still nervous?
I am.
All right. So I see you have tattoos.
I do.
All right. Are they? Do they have any significance or?
They all tell a story.
Okay. Chris, where were you born at?
In Longview.
You're a Longview native.
I'm a Longview native.
What do you think about Longview?
I love Longview. I love the community. I love the people in this community. I think it needs some growth.
Okay.
I think we need bigger city. I love big cities, but as far as the community and being here and being connected with business people and with people here in town, I do love that.
Okay. Tell me about your upbringing. Let's get right into it.
That's fine. So, my upbringing was a little scattered, but my mom and my dad divorced when I was 2.
Okay.
My dad was an alcoholic, and we lived with actually his parents, my mom, me, and my sister. And then my mom remarried to a man who was, I guess, abusive to her. I've never been told the full story. He was good to me, but I don't know all that story. My family doesn't talk about things. I'm kind of the black sheep of the family, and that
You are?
they say, you will tell anybody anything.
Uh-huh.
You say anything, they never know what's going to come out of my mouth.
Wow, I don't get that from you at all. I'm not getting that from you.
I'm learning as I get older to just be quiet.
Don't start right now. Like, you
Start
have to start
observing.
right. Yeah.
But my mother's always like, oh God, what is she going to say? Please don't ask her questions.
Did she know you were coming?
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
She didn't. She'd be like, why? But she got remarried, or they divorced. She picked me up in the 2nd grade from school. That day I'll never forget. I didn't know what was happening, but
In the 2nd grade?
in the 2nd grade,
Okay.
yeah. So she picked me and my sister up from school. We left. We moved into an apartment. So when we moved from there back to my grandparents, which was my dad's parents, they built us a room and for my mom and me and my sister to live in.
That's when she was leaving your father.
That was her second husband.
Okay, when she was leaving the second husband. She moved into the
So
in-laws.
we moved with my in-laws first. Then she met her second husband. We moved in with him, and then she left him, and we moved back in
Okay.
with the in-laws. Yeah.
All right.
So when they got divorced, we lived with my grandparents for a while, and they're all from East Mountain and White Oak area.
Okay.
And she was working for a company that was owned by a man that was from Hallsville, and they started dating and they got married.
Okay.
So she moved my sister and I to Hallsville. We acquired 3 brothers. That was very challenging. We were spoiled at my grandparents'. We were the all-girl family to move into a man's home, and he was very strict. I hated him for the longest time, but he was not mean.
Because he was
and he's
strict?
a great guy.
Yeah.
He's wonderful to my mother, but he was so strict. Like, children didn't talk at the table. Children were not to be heard. We were not to talk on road trips. We were not, we were to be quiet.
Would you be offended if I said that sounds traditional?
No, I would not be offended, because now that I look back on it, I'm like, that he was doing. I mean, he had 5 kids in the house, so why wouldn't he tell us to shut up?
Does that sound traditional to you, Chris?
It sounds like the idea of what people would say is traditional.
Yeah. It'd be hard to make 5 kids be quiet.
Yeah,
I
especially
have
boys.
3. It's hard to make 3 be quiet.
Yeah, especially rambunctious
Especially
boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's where he was coming from. Looking back now, I truly believe that that's where he was coming from, is he was trying to teach his boys respect in front of us. I did a lot of, I never snuck out, did anything like that, but I started drinking at 16, and I kind of
I would rather you sneak out.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I didn't.
Yeah.
My mother would say, "Have you been drinking?" Yep. And we
Oh,
got high, Mom.
oh wow.
And
How
she
how old
was
were you?
like, "Is there anything you can't? Can you just not tell me something? Just not share?" And I'm
So
like,
you just add to whatever.
"I just shared."
What age was this?
16.
16? Okay.
Yeah. So I was when she married him, I was in the 5th grade, so I was 10.
How did he take it? How did your stepdad take you going through this?
Well, so my brothers were a little bit wild too.
Mm-hmm.
My 2 older brothers were. And so if we were late coming in from curfew or if we came home drunk at 5 a.m. the next morning, there was pots and pans going down the hall. There was every TV turned all the way up. There was stereos turned all the way up. And you were waking up.
No matter
So
what.
hungover, sorry about your luck because you're getting up.
Are they still together? Your mother and this young man? Okay.
Yes.
So they worked through all that. That's
Oh,
that's
yes.
pretty amazing for them
Yeah.
to work through that.
My oldest brother got drunk in Shreveport one night
Mhm.
and had a car wreck. It was my junior year in high school, and he had a brain injury. And my mother moved to Dallas for about a year because he was in Baylor to take care of him because they had to reteach him how to walk, eat, sleep, do all the things.
Okay. That's
So,
how did that affect the family?
I don't really know how it affected my sister and the other brothers, but it was hurtful to me because he was not hers and she left me in a sense. And so I didn't really want to be there anymore. I wanted to be with my grandparents where I knew that somebody was there, but as I older, I understand. It was just her nurturing behavior, her being a mother to him, because I don't think his mom was kind of really in the picture at the time.
Okay.
But I didn't realize that at the moment. So I had a lot of resentment built up for her.
Did you verbalize that to her, or did you actually move back to your grandparents?
Oh, I verbalized that.
Okay.
Yeah, and
In in colorful language?
Yes, and
I
have
still
since
don't.
said many apologies.
Okay. And that was gonna, lead up to the next to one of the questions was what was the dynamic in terms of parenting and the family, being that half the family, is maternal and the other is paternal. Like, how did they cross parent? How did your mom parent the boys? I think that's easier than the male parenting. The the wives.
Yeah, so the boys loved my mom because she cooked for us, and she kept everything in line. And my mother is very calm and very reserved and very quiet and very good. My mother is probably one of the most amazing people that you'll meet.
Okay.
And the boys took to her like that was their mother. And I don't remember if things were hard on them with her so much because I think she actually brought calmness into the house.
Okay.
At that point, I wanted to be with my dad more. And I was very protective of my dad. So if something was said about my dad, I took it very defensively and spoke my piece about that to him. So don't talk about my daddy.
Are you close with your dad?
I am.
Okay.
I moved out, went to college, went to my first year. I graduated high school. I went to SFA for a semester. And I came back with a 0.0 GPA. Yes, I'm going to raise my hand and say I'm proud of that 0.0 because I experienced life that semester. I ran off trying to get married.
During that time?
Yes.
Were you successful?
No, nobody would marry us.
Oh my goodness.
We did run away together. Our parents took my car, they took his car. Just your normal wild child. Let's see what we can do. And then I came back here, and I was very impulsive and decided in 92, I think I'm going to move to Beaumont. What? You're going where? I said, I'm moving to Beaumont. I'm leaving tomorrow.
What made you choose Beaumont?
Because my best friend now, I met her in college. Her
Uh-huh.
and her husband lived in Beaumont. And so I went to live with her.
Okay.
And I got married I went down there, dated around, worked, and then I got married and decided that wasn't the life for me. So
Hold on. The married life, the
the
Beaumont
married
life,
life, the married
which
life.
okay.
The
All
married
right.
life. Yeah.
Okay.
He would not have children with me. His comment to me was, I'm not having children with somebody I don't know is going to stay around.
Mhm.
I'm like, we married. What? I'm here.
Why do you think that he would say something like that?
I think that he knew I was young and he knew I was
Was he older?
skeptical.
Was he older?
He was a couple of years older than
Okay.
me, not too much older, but I think he knew that my personality was flighty
Mm-hmm.
and impulsive, and I think he was afraid, and I think he had every right to be afraid.
Okay. Were you
Yeah.
diagnosed with ADD or ADHD or anything like that?
I was diagnosed bipolar.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you divorced him, or did you just leave?
I
or-
divorced him.
Okay.
I stayed in Beaumont for another couple of years and acted out until I lost a job and I had no choice but to come home.
Okay. Did you do a lot of drinking?
I did.
Do you have a DWI?
No,
Okay.
I don't.
All right.
I was always very lucky in that department.
I think the advent of social media has, and we'll talk about this together as a group, but it's dividing a lot of people in terms of, drinking and driving. Mostly, more than anything, like drinking and driving.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But in any case, so you got divorced. Did your thing for a little while. Did you make it back to Longview?
I came back home.
Was that by choice or because that was
No,
it?
I had no choice.
Yeah.
I had nowhere to go, and I had no choice.
Okay.
So I came back home, and of course, my family, my grandparents, my dad's parents took me in, and
Because they love you.
they loved me.
Yes.
Yes. And they just knew that was my personality.
Yeah.
You know, God, what's she done now? So
Yeah.
I came home, and my grandfather set me down and said, Chris, it's time for you to grow up.
Yeah.
It's time.
Bro, I'm old. I still haven't grown up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I wasn't ready. And a friend of ours introduced me to a man, and
Oh Lord.
yeah, no.
Here we go again.
Here we go again. It was always a man. It was always a man. And he was great, and he is the father of my children.
Okay.
And he is a wonderful man.
Okay.
But I think my family saw stability with him, and I think they were more okay, he's good. He was 6 years older than me, and he's good for you. He's good for you.
Were you doing that for them, or were you doing that for you?
So I did it for them.
Yeah.
From the initiation, or did you like start out wanting to, and then kind of like this ain't for me, or did you just initially like, I'm gonna do what they want?
It was all, I'm gonna do what they want. All my friends were telling me this you need this, and
How old were you at the time?
so
You don't have to be exact.
2000, and I don't even know. It was 20,
That's the best answer right
25
there.
years ago. 25 years ago. So I'm
Wow, that's
52 now.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a while.
Okay.
Anyway, so when I took the vow, I said, okay, told myself it's time to grow up. And I put everything I had into the marriage, and I wanted babies right now. I want babies.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had a daughter. We were married a year, and we had a daughter. And I was in love with her 100%. So I lived, breathed, ate, slept that child.
Mm-hmm.
And I slept with her. I did not want him to hold her. I did not want anyone else to have anything to do with her. And she was 2, and I started realizing there's just something missing here. can't be all that this life is about. There's something missing. And then I ended up getting pregnant again.
Now, the second one, I'm assuming the first one wasn't like exactly as planned, but the second one,
The first one was totally planned.
totally planned.
Totally planned.
And the second one
yes.
wasn't.
The second one was not.
Right.
No. In fact,
I'm going to ask you a tough question, and this is kind of hard.
ask it.
Was the intimacy or the sexual life, was it just an action, or was it actual intimacy?
So for me, it was an action, no different than what pre-life of him was for me.
Okay.
Sex has always been in the past an action.
Mm-hmm.
I never realized that sex is supposed to be intimate and feel emotional. So
Right.
I didn't have a lot of emotions. I had a lot of anger.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't understand what tears were. I didn't understand what emotions were at that time. So it was an action for me. And when we started trying to have my first child, it was more of, we have to do this because I have to have a baby.
Right.
So,
For the second one, or
and then for the second one,
were you just fulfilling what you would believe was part of a marriage?
he was like, you never do this. You never give me any attention. And I was like, okay, fine. And here you go. And then I turned around and said, I better not be pregnant. It was so weird because it's like I knew it, and I was.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful for her.
Yeah.
She's my little mini me, so I'm very thankful for her. But I knew, but I called my mom and I said, Mom, something's missing in my life, and now I have this other baby. And she said, you can't leave. You have to stay. You have 2 children with this man, and this is your life now, and you have a family.
Mm-hmm.
But I was empty. There was no emotions and no feeling. We were friends,
Mm-hmm.
and he was great to me.
Yeah.
He was gone a lot. He refereed basketball. He referees basketball and football.
Mm-hmm.
So he was gone a lot. And that was okay with me because I had the girls, but at some point I needed something else in my life. So I tried to go to church. I tried to give my life to Jesus, what I thought was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then when my youngest daughter was 2, a girl that I worked with said, hey, we're going out for some drinks this weekend. You want to go? And I was like, oh, thank you. Yes, I do. Yes, I need life outside.
You felt that. You felt that old light, that old flicker.
Oh, it was
Yes.
pulling so
Yes.
hard. And so we went out and we were at the levee. If you're from Longview, you know the old levee.
Hi, girl.
I'm really aging people if you know the levee.
Never went there, but yes, I know the legend.
Okay.
So we were sitting there just having drinks, and all of a sudden, someone came tumbling down on me. And I turned around and I met eyes with him, and I had an emotion that I had really never felt before.
Mm-hmm.
I turned around to my friend and I said, I'm going to marry him. And she said, have you lost your mind? You are married. And I said, and she's like, Chris, what are you doing? I said, it's just going to happen. I just know it. It's going to happen. And she's like, oh, God, you're drunk. Let's go home. So I said, well, I'm not leaving until he leaves. So I pursued that very heavily. We had an instant attraction.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an attraction like I had never experienced in my life.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost a drug.
Yeah.
I would have to say that it was, if you could describe doing cocaine or meth, I've never done those, but if you could describe or hear somebody talk about that, that's what he was to me.
Mm-hmm.
We started texting, like, I don't know, we probably texted 150 times in just an 8-hour time period. And I found out that he was married. And I instantly went home and told my husband I want a divorce.
Okay.
it's not if, it's when. I have an affair on you. I know it's going to happen. I'm itching for something more. I'm not happy here, and I need to go. And of course, he did not want that. And he fought it. We have 2 children, and I said, I can't do this life. This is not the life I want. And so he told me, I'm not, my wife is, I sleep on the couch or she sleeps on the couch. I've told her we're getting a divorce, but she is not financially stable enough to leave yet. So I can't do that. So for 1 solid year, we dated in secret. At that point, I just was like, this is just over.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter at this point. It's just over.
Mm-hmm.
And I really didn't have any emotion toward my children's pain because they were so little. My mother was like, you have babies. And I said, no, they're resilient. They'll be fine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've been through this and I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not fine.
Yeah.
Yes, I am fine. I'm good. I'm going to be good. And at that point, all I knew was I needed this man. And I cried every night for this man, prayed every night for this man. Like, I need this man.
While you're still living at home with your husband.
Well, yeah, because I was looking for a place to live at this point. Yeah.
But he let you stay until.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because he did not want to uproot my children.
Yeah.
So.
You're really after this guy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And we would we did every other week. And so every other week when when the girls were with their dad, him and him would meet at the gym at 4 a.m. We would work out a couple hours in the morning, and then he would come to my house and we would hang out until it was time for me to go to work and him to go to work and do our thing. And then on the weekends, he would tell her he was going out of town to work, and we would actually go out of town together.
Mhm.
So we, at this time, were best friends. I told him things I'd never told anyone. I spent 36 hours with him one weekend in a truck driving. Not one single argument. We were literally just sick with each other, I guess is a good way to put it. Or at least I thought at the time we were. But he tried to break it off a couple of times, and I called my sister and told her I wanted to die. Like, I just could not see myself living without him. And I guess that continued until his wife left. And then once his wife left and we became public, we started intermingling the kids together. And I started spending nights at his house. And then the arguments kind of started, and they were just small. And then I started realizing, I created a Facebook page for him. Like, I'm the one who set it up for him because he's at the time didn't know how. And,
Oh, okay.
all this was back when kind of Facebook was just starting out.
Yeah.
And so I set it all up. Well, obviously I knew his passwords. And so I discovered that he was messaging other women. And of course we would fight about that. And
Were y'all married?
no,
Okay.
we had not. We were just dating, and I was going back and forth. And then, it just became progressively the kids, my girls hated him from the start, obviously, because it was another man at that time. But I think they sensed something that I did not sense. I think kids know.
Yeah.
And my oldest daughters kept saying, Mama, can we just go home? Can we please go home? And I'm like, no, I'm going to marry him, and this is going to be our life, and you have to get used to it. That's going to be your stepbrother, your stepsister, and you have to get used to this life. And I didn't see their sadness.
Mm-hmm.
I just couldn't see past that because all I wanted was him. And then he started drinking a lot, and he started talking kind of ugly to me when he would get mad at me. And he would call me late at night. Like, I would go home and he would call me late at night and get just very angry with me and tell me, I'm done with this, and if you mention my name, I'll kill you and your family.
Oh, wow.
And in fact, I remember calling my mom one night at 1:30. I said, I need somewhere to go. I think he's going to come hurt me and the girls, and I'm scared. And she said, what? And I said, he's told me that if I mention his name, Mom, he broke up with me. I don't understand. And I was just hysterical. And
what do you mean mention his name, in what
he
manner?
told me, I can't do, I'm not arguing with you anymore. Your jealousy. You don't need to worry about what's in my Facebook and all this. And
You already knew he was talking to other girls at this time?
yeah. And he said, I just think we need to be over. And if you need to keep my name out of your mouth and don't.
That kind of thing.
That kind of
Okay.
thing. Yeah.
All right.
He was at that point, which I did not realize at the time, he was starting the fear. He would tell me things like, if I get a phone call and I have to leave all of a sudden, you don't need to ask any questions. Just know that I'll be back. I have to make money. And he started to kind of trust me a little more. And he would say, I do things that I collect money for people. And I know people. And in my twisted way of thinking, I thought, he's powerful. This is cool. This is so cool. I wasn't afraid. And he continued to tell me, you don't want to go there. You don't want to do this. I'm like, well, just tell me that you don't want to know. I've done things to people that I should never be told, you just need to keep your mouth shut about things. And so I cowered down to him, cowered down.
Even so, at this point, even though he's still talking to other girls, you would still cower down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I just would ask him, what can I do to make you, like, what is it? And
You're
he
still
would-
at this point as well. You're still like, I've got to have this guy.
I've got to have him. Yeah.
Okay.
And I even told him that. I'm like, I don't understand. What can I do? Why are you entertaining someone else? And he said, I don't know. It's, I just like the attention and I don't understand it, but I'm in love with you. And I just, you're everything I could ever imagine being with. And I was like, oh, you're so great. Now I'm going to go throw up.
Oh my God.
Not funny, but funny.
Not funny, but funny. Because literally that's how I was. And my friends were like, who are you? And like,
That is,
it was crazy. I wanted to touch him. I always wanted to be like right beside him and just be stuck to him like glue. And I've never been a touchy person. And my friends were just like, we just don't understand who you are. What do you see in him? Like, you're an educated, you have a professional
smart. Yeah.
position. You're educated. You have 2 beautiful children. And what are you doing with your life? And I said, y'all don't understand. He's wonderful. Like, why is he so wonderful? It's because he's powerful and he's this home builder and he's this and he's that and he's just got, whatever. I don't know. I didn't understand it, but it came down to, some time passed where I was actually spending, like when I'd have my girls, I would make them spend with me. He lived in Gladewater and we would go over there and spend the weeks with him. And I would take his kids to school and drive my kids, to Longview. And we were really intermingling them. And I kept telling him, we need to be married. We need to be married. This is what we want. No, he kept putting it off. And I remember there was an argument that we had. He had asked me a question about a guy from high school that he went to high school with that I've known all my life. And he asked me a question about something that we had done back when we were like 15. And I lied to him and was like, no, I didn't do nothing with him because I didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
Like, why do I have to answer this question when it's none of your business?
Yeah.
And so I kept saying no. Well, I guess he found out the truth. And this was the first time that he had ever really gotten angry. And it was just me and him at his house. The kids were at their dad's and his kids were at their mom's. And,
Hold on.
Yep.
He got angry over an encounter when you were 15 years old.
yes, because I lied to him
Okay.
and told him that I didn't do anything with the guy. That's what he was angry about. And I'm like, I don't understand why you're so angry. Like, it's none of your business. He said, well, you should have told me it was none of your business. You shouldn't have lied. And I said, look, I knew how you were going to react,
Mhm.
because you know him, and his whole thing was respect.
Mhm.
And he threw that at me all the time. You need to respect me. And like, I do respect you, but you were not in my life then. I was 15 years old.
Yeah.
So I never understood that. But he was very angry. And that was the first time that we were in person at this point. We were not on the phone at this point. I was with him.
Mhm.
And I don't even remember what all transpired. But at this point, he grabbed me by my hair and pulled me down his hall. He threw my dog in the front yard. He threw all of my clothes in the front yard and threw me in the yard and called me a whore and told me to leave and never come back. And I remember being on my knees in the yard just begging him to please just listen to me and stop. And he was like, get off of your knees. Who the hell are you? And it was just, degrading me. Like, what are you on your knees? Are you that desperate? And I was like, yes, I'm desperately in love with you. Why are you doing this? I just did not grasp why this man had just done this to me. And I just remember it literally just crushed my spirit at that moment. I had never had anyone talk to me like that. Never had anybody put their hands on me. But at that point, I did not realize that was abuse.
At that moment, you hadn't processed that a dude just dragged you down the hallway by your hair.
I had no clue that's what, like, I just thought he was acting out of, we were arguing and screaming and shouting and cussing each other out. And I just thought it was like, that's just that he was just acting out of that. And I didn't care. Like, I just wanted him to stop doing that so that we could just have a happy life and everything would be fine. But it changed my behavior towards him. I think from that point on, my behavior towards him was more fear. But I didn't want to go anywhere. I mean, I didn't want to leave him. I just wanted him not to be mad at me. That's all that I cared about, was that he wouldn't be mad at me. And I guess I left, and the next day he came over to my house and, did his I'm so sorry and crying and I'll never do that again. And I don't know what came over me. I've never put my hands on a woman. I don't believe in that. And, and I was like, okay, everything's fine. We're good. He said, just don't ever lie to me again. I said, I won't. From now on, I'll tell you everything. Knowing I would never tell him another thing at this point. Like, ever again. And would announce it to the whole world. Please don't tell him my business, because I don't want him knowing everything. So, but after that moment, it just progressively got worse. And then,
Were there other physical interactions?
yes.
What was the catalytic moment? What caused it to end?
He got physical with me several times after that. He almost killed me. He held me up by my neck and till I passed out. But I just did not realize that that was abuse. And I don't know why, because I had never witnessed that from anybody. It's like I did not realize it wasn't normal, but I didn't know that it. Does that make sense? Like I had never witnessed anybody go through that, but I know he wasn't hitting me, and that's all I kept saying is, well, he's not hitting me, he's just choking me or putting his hands on me. And so one Sunday we started going to counseling with our pastor. I mean, he played in the church band. So, yeah. And so he was highly regarded by all these people. And so I told my pastor about it, and my pastor talked to him, and we started going to counseling, and he started trying to do better. And so one Sunday I told him, I said, I want to do life better. I want to have life with Jesus like he wants, and we're living in sin, and we're having sex, and we're not married, and I was rationalizing all of these things that was wrong with our relationship, and this is why we were fighting, because we were doing all these things, and we had cheated on our spouse, and we had done this, and so we need to make it right. And he said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I'm leaving for Destin this week, and I'm either going to take the girls or I'm going to take you, and we're going to get married. And if you tell me no, then you need to go get all your crap out of my house, and you're leaving.
Like you drew the line.
Like, this is it.
Okay.
And he said, just like that? And I said, yeah. And he looked at me and he smiled real big, and he goes, well, I guess we're getting married. And he said, yeah, let's do this. And so we packed up, and we had a beautiful wedding, just me and him. It was amazing, and our vows were wonderful, and everything was great. And I thought, this is the turning point. Now he knows that I'm in this, and I'm good, and he's in this, and we're going to change things. Whew. No, that did not change things. So he ended up moving into my apartment because I manage an apartment community, so he was there. And so he would get mad at me over how I mothered my children, and they were spoiled, and we would fight all the time. And I guess the pivotal point was, I think I progressively got angry, and each time that we would fight, now I was married to him, so each time I would fight, it was like I started realizing I don't think he has as much power as he says he does. And so I started losing fear and becoming angry. And so every time we would fight, I would start getting ugly and calling names and I became someone that I didn't know existed inside of me, even though the anger from my younger, it was like all of that was surfacing. But it was surfacing to an accelerated point. And I just got to where I never got to where I didn't love him. I never got to where I was not attracted to him ever. But I just got to where I was not going to tolerate him screaming at me, talking to my kids that way, talking to me. And then my daughter walked in and saw his hands on me and heard him call me an effing something. And I saw her face. And it was at that moment that I realized, this man's got to go. This man's got to go. And so I started telling him, you got to go. And well, he did not like that. I'm not going anywhere. And I don't have a job, and I don't have anywhere to go. You have to wait till I find a job, and I was like, and you got to go. You got to go now. And then he started.
Now I'm starting to hear you come out.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. And then he started talking about suicide, and I can't live without you. And he started taking pills and just doing very off the wall things. And eventually that led to, I guess, I stopped paying attention to him because I just did not want him there. And so he found alternative outside of the house, and I found out he spent a weekend with her, and that was the moment I said, your stuff is packed. It is time for you to leave. I'm done. I will have no more. I love you. I will always love you, but I'm done. And he packed up and left, and I tried. I would go and get drunk and miss him and start calling him, and I would go see him, and we would start talking, but he did not want to be hidden. He wanted everybody to know that we were trying to get back together, and I did not. I did not want my kids to know this because I knew it would hurt them. But it was like I could not break that tie. I knew every time I was around him, I was anxious, and I knew it wasn't normal. And then I started realizing, I think he abused me. I think I have been I think I'm a victim. What does that look like? And I really didn't understand all that. And I tried to have a conversation with him about that. And then he would say, well, it's not like I hit you. But no, but you literally almost killed me 3 times. Like one snap and you could have broken my neck. Oh, but I didn't. So I just processed all that. And I saw Trini, it was a Facebook post or something that she had made about this book. And my counselor at the time kept telling me, you need to journal your story. And I'm like, but my story is not, I'm good. And she said, but you're not good. And I said, but I'm good. I don't have bruises all over me. And it wasn't like that. And she said, you need to journal your story. And so I reached out to her and I said, I think I'm going to do this. And once I signed up, I was committed. And I mentally was like, I can't, what are you going to write about? You can't do this. You got to, what are you doing?
Right.
Yeah. But I knew I had to get a story out. And so I procrastinated. And then one weekend, I knew we had a meeting, all of us at a dinner. And Trini was talking to us about being accountable to each other. We're at this point where now we have saved these chapters.
You still hadn't written?
No.
Not know that.
Is that one of your problems?
Not written a word.
Procrastination, yes.
Procrastination, yeah. So I realized I have accountability to other women. And I was not going to let them down, no matter what. If I just had to get something on paper, it is what it is. I'm going to go do this. And so I went, my dad lives in Houston, and so I went to my dad's. They were out of town, and he asked me to babysit the dog, and I'm like, it's perfect. Yes, I'll be there. So I went to Houston, and I just started to write, and it just started pouring out. And like, I've told this story so many times now that I don't really get emotional anymore because it's kind of funny to me. I look back and I go, who are you? Who were you?
Right.
But I never realized until I wrote this book. I've never been more thankful, and I've never told you this, Trini, more thankful for anyone than I am for you for leading this out for women. And I did not realize that I had a story. To hear Pam's story and to see these other stories in the book, my story is so trivial, but it wasn't trivial. And I just did not realize. And then when I wrote the book, I was done. I was free. I didn't have to think about this or tell a story ever again, and it was over with. And then they kept talking about, we need to push to get this book word out. And I thought, oh, geez, his kids are going to see it. His ex-wife is going to, oh, God, now I got to face another demon.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, she found out that his ex-wife came to me and when we got divorced and said, I heard what Rick did to you, and I'm so sorry.
His ex-wife or his current wife?
His ex-wife.
His ex-wife. Okay.
And she said he did that to me, and I was like, what?
Oh, wow.
What? And she said, I never liked you because I thought that he treated you better than he treated me. You portrayed that he was wonderful. And so I said, I have something I need to tell you. Like, she said, I want to read this book. And I kept procrastinating giving this book to her. And she said, there's a reason you're procrastinating. Why? And I said, I just want to come bring this to you in person. And I said, before you read this book, I need to ask for your forgiveness and I need to tell you what's in it. Because when you read it, you're going to know. And I said, I understand if you're angry. I understand if you hate me. I understand. But you need to know everything. And she's like, I forgive you. And she had a lot of questions, as she should have.
Yeah.
And, I apologized to her. But at that moment, it was like, I'm free of this whole story. I'm done. But I never realized that addiction to people was real.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so the book and all the things that has happened has made me really realize it. I had a friend ask me not long ago, what would you do if he walked up to you right now? And I said, I would probably melt. Because I'm still...
Have you said goodbye to him?
I still love him, but...
Have you said goodbye to him?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
That's a no.
Probably
that's probably a
mentally,
no.
no. Would I ever want it back? No. And I know that I would never, I'm stronger than that, but I'm not, like, I want to know where he is because I don't want to run into him.
Yeah, that's a no. That's definitely a no.
Yeah. Yeah.
So your children, how old are they now?
21 and 19.
Okay. Did you ever remarry?
No.
Okay. That's a hard no.
I am
So-
married to Jesus.
Yes.
As of
Amen.
March 18th, 2022. I am
Good.
married to Jesus.
That is awesome. Were you still so when you wrote Trinity, or when you came across that, were you still dealing with this? Okay. What is the root? What would you consider to be the root of your anger?
I really don't know.
Okay.
I-
But you just knew you
To
had
be
anger.
honest, I just, I know that I've always had it. I know that I've always been, my mother would say at birth, I did not want to be held. Put her down. I did not want to be touched.
So you were
I didn't-
quieter if they put you down than if you were being held. Your father. What role did he play in your life?
My biological father growing up was wonderful. I mean, he was an alcoholic, and he's suffering from that now. He has
Cirrhosis of the-
stage 4 pancreatic cancer.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, life's not good for him right now. But we would go back and forth to Houston, and my dad would. My dad is a man of high taste. And he likes to take us to the finer places and show off. And my dad loves to entertain, and I want to make everything memorable. And I want to take you places you've never been, and I want you to get all dressed up and do all the reserved things. And but he's always been a heavy drinker, and he's always been a fun drinker. Call and your daddy's got your back, and when he found out all this was going on, none of my family liked Rick, but I did not know that at the time. I mean, nobody voiced it because they knew I was going to do whatever I was
Nobody
gonna
would
do.
tell you, hey.
No, they just.
But the first guy, like the first marriage, they're like, you need to stay with him.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
But he didn't. When he found out all this was happening, he said, do I need to handle up on this? And I was like, what? No. What do you mean handle up? I can make a few phone calls, Dad. No, like we're way beyond that. No. I would say that my daddy's probably one of my favorite people in the world, and I don't think he's ever realized that.
What's his name?
Jim.
Jim? If Jim were sitting in here today, what would you tell Jim? His impact on your life.
I would probably say, I forgive you for not being there. I wish I would have had different, but I forgive you for not being there.
Have you ever told him that?
No.
Okay. I know this is a hard question, but have they given you an expectancy?
I think they gave me different.
Okay. But it's not long either way.
Yeah, I think they gave me different.
Okay. Man, your story is interesting. Like all of your stories are. I think it would be, and I know he may hear it here, but I think it'd probably be one of the most important things in this life to hear that from you in person one day.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
But my parents are not, none of my parents on either side, they don't talk about serious emotions and things.
So this is one of those things. I'm. It's probably because I'm old. But it's. I think this is one of those things where you need to sit them in a chair and tell them, because I think that's what we as human beings, not a culture, but as human beings, we often pass through this realm, never really saying what we need to say.
Yeah.
Right. And then when we can't, we're like, dang, like you said earlier, and you've said, like, dang, I wish I would have said that. Because as powerful as it is for you to say it here when he's not here, imagine how powerful it is to say it in front of him. Right.
True.
Because he's probably waiting for it.
Maybe.
I'm just telling you as a father.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not the best father. You know, I'm not even a quarter of a good father. But when I need to tell my kids, when something's on my heart, I tell them, because it's like, you know, you never know when you can. What about Debbie? What impact has she had on your life?
So I would have to say that I've lived my life trying to prove myself to my mom.
Have you told her that?
No.
Do you feel like you've done it?
No.
Like you've met her expectations?
No. I feel like
you think she has high expectations of you?
I feel like I've let her down. I feel like my lifestyle, if I could redo it over, I would do it differently to make her proud. And I feel like being 52 and a single mom and struggling financially and just going, making impulsive decisions like I did, I feel like my mom probably looks like I didn't do a good job raising her. I wish that I didn't have to deal with this all the time, kind of thing. I think my mom loves me because she's my mom. I feel like it's a love because I have to love you. I don't know that.
That's just your perception.
That's just my perception. Okay. I don't know that because my mom doesn't express feelings.
Yeah. Sounds like somebody I know.
Yeah. But I express a lot of feelings now.
Yeah. Good.
Jesus has really brought out tears and emotions that I've never knew how to deal with.
Good.
So that's what I've been dealing with for the past couple of years, is learning how to deal with emotions. And now I love to hug people and I love to love people and I hurt for people. So hearing these other women's stories, it hurts. Yeah. It hurts me to know that other people have gone through worse and similar, and so I feel for people, which I've never done, and so I'm having to learn how to deal with that emotion.
Yeah. Man, it sounds like you're still dealing with a lot.
I think so. Yeah.
But it's good that you're dealing with it, and I hope that I certainly think you should say goodbye to the guy. You haven't. I'm not asking you. I'm actually telling you now.
I'm gonna save my question.
I'm actually telling you now. That's a no. And
God's timing never fits into our timeline. Like, we always want these things to happen when we think they should happen, but God always makes them happen when they need to. So you should find some grace in that as well. When both of you ladies were telling your story, I heard courage. Like, I heard a moment of courage. You and your brother moving your mom away, and then you making a point to end this relationship. And for both of you, I just wanted to know, like, where did that courage come from?
I think mine was the sadness in my children's face.
Mm.
I think when I realized that I needed to love my children more than I loved him, and when I realized what I had done, and I realized the hurt that I put in my children's face and the selfishness that I took from my children, I think that's when I realized at that point, that was the pivotal point, I guess you could say, for me.
All right. Here's a chance for your question.
What does it look like to say goodbye to someone?
Good, very good question. So every question that has to do with humanity is like a kaleidoscope. You're not going to get a one answer fits all, right?
Right.
Right.
I know that you're still at no, because when you talk about him, there's emotion in the way that you talk about him. I'm gonna end the podcast with a question. Pam, if today was your last day,
No, Chris, that's
I'm sorry.
Nope.
Please keep that in.
Oh,
Please,
my
we
Lord.
need
Say,
that.
hey, girl.
We need a good laugh in this. I mean, it was heavy.
Yeah, this is heavy.
Chris, if today was your last day on Earth, what advice would you give humanity?
The first answer I would be is love Jesus. I mean, that's first and foremost. Love Jesus.